Yo, what's up, folks? Thanks for checking out the video. This one I want to show you a new trout rod that I've picked up. I picked this up at Academy today. Academy Sports, the one over here off of 141 on 400. They have these Falcon rods. The BuCoo SR. These things are awesome. Awesome. Super sensitive. But well balanced. But I got one in I guess a trout size rod that I'll be using for the Chattahoochee River trout fishing. This is above Morgan Falls. Above Morgan Falls you can get bass, carp, bluegill, that sort of thing, but you get higher up into where the Abbott's Bridge is at, even below that, but above Abbott's Bridge you get into the trout territory. You're going to get into the brown trout and the rainbow trout, and this is my preferred setup when fishing for trout on the Chattahoochee. I'll show you. Let's see, where's my old setup at? This one I've been fishing with for years. It's the same. Come on out of there. Same configuration, really. We'll compare the two sizes right there. This one, this is a Pfluger Trion GX Reel, the small one. And yep, I don't know if you can see it all wrapped up around the bell there. Super thin, but that is 2 pound test line. That's what I'm using when I'm fishing for trout on the Chattahoochee. This has been my setup for a while. This is a Bass Pro Michro Lite. And 2 pound test line on there. Let's see if I get the hooks to focus. There we go. These small hooks, about half the size of your pinky finger, real small hooks. And we use 2-inch worms, small grubs, that sort of thing. And a football weight. You can use a regular like clam style weight. Those will work too. I like the football weights because they'll squeak through rocks more. You know, like, I mean, if it gets down to the bottom, that weight's going to get beat up as the current takes it down the river. The football weights just seem to get hung up less, and just a quick pickup of the rod tip, and you can get those rigs out from being hung. Too much weight in the river. This is why I use ultralight, guys. If you use too much weight in the Chattahoochee River, that weight is just going to get stuck in all that rock on the bottom. There's some sandy spots, but there's a ton of rock, ton of little cracks and crevices for your line and your weight to get caught up in. So I like using ultralight. It'll stay in the middle of the water column. You can pick your rod tip up a little bit, and it'll keep that weight just bouncing off the bottom, but it'll keep your lure in the middle of the water column, and that's what you want. So this has been, as you guys can see, I mean, I put some put some mileage on this rod, my old trout fishing setup for the Chattahoochee. This is kayak fishing too. I'll use it on the bank, but these shorter rods, you know, they're not one for casting. You can cast really far with it, especially with a little bit of weight and 2 pound test. You can get it out there, but this is mainly like kayak fishing. So we are floating in a kayak, fishing in the drift, fishing in certain eddies and that sort of thing. And this is the type of rod I like to use. So in 2020, we're going to use this Falcon, the BuCoo SR, and the ultralight. See if I can get that. There we go. The ultralight action, medium flex, 2 to 6 pound test. And you know we're using Berkeley Trilane. Not going fishing unless I got Berkeley Trilane. I used to watch the fishing shows when I was a kid, and that commercial came on 20 times every Saturday morning, watching Bill Dance and that stuff as a kid. So there it is. There's the old. Still going to be using that one. I need to restring it. But the new, as far as the rod or the reel goes on this, we're just using an Abu Garcia Black Max. I think you'll figure out real quick that in the ultralight category, there's not a lot of high-end reels, right? There's not a lot of, like high ball bearing, super fast reels in the ultralight category. One, because ultralight category is kind of a small category, and two, because you don't really need it. Most of the fish we're catching here are going to be a pound, less than a pound. You want something where you can still handle, 3, 4, 5, 6 pound fish. I mean, shoot, there's been, 20-pound trout caught out of Chattahoochee before, and they're wrecking this, but they're wrecking your bass rod too. To really be able to muscle those guys up, you need a striper set up, and, no one is really going to be out there with a striper rod dealing with that heavy line and the heavy lures with the big water flow. It's just really, really hard. If you want to go big in the Chattahoochee, it may be best going fly rod, fly reel, big streamers, something like that with less weight. Like that guy, the Reddington Behemoth, and a 7 or 8 weight rod may be best. But you're slapping a lot of water. Those fish didn't get big because they're dumb. They are very, very, very hard to catch. But drifting on the Chattahoochee, these are my 2 setups. This is the old one for the 2-pound test line. This is the guy I'm going to be using this year. Grip's going to be a little bit different. Balance is a little bit different on these two. We'll see how they turn up, but yep, super excited about that. I don't know if you guys are familiar with these Bass Pro Shop ultralights. There's no way to screw that collar down on your reel like most reels. The Falcon has it right there, to where you can screw that little collar down and it bites onto the reel mount, holds it there. Basically, on these old Bass Pro Shop ultralights, it just slides down over it. If it gets sweaty, if it gets wet, if the cork starts to wear and get old, it can move around a little bit. So I just put a little athletic tape for a little bit of grip, and just to keep that reel in place. But I won't have to do that with the new Falcon BuCoo. Pretty excited about this setup. Abu Garcia Black Max. I think it's 1,000. It's the small one. It's like the ultralight Black Max. This isn't an expensive setup either. We're talking about under $100 for this. So that's what we're going to spin up here. Put some line on it, and we'll be using that trout fishing in the Chattahoochee this year in 2020.